Hey, what is up, guys? My name is Edward Ornelas. Today, we're going to be talking about some Bitcoin price action, how bulls are still in control. All right, we're going to explain that today, so be sure to stay tuned. All right, let's get right into it. I should probably change my intro. All right, I've had that intro now for about a year, so let me know what you guys think. All right, should I change it? Should I keep it? I just not thought about that. I don't know. Anyways, so Bitcoin, it's been interesting. It's been interesting lately because one, it seems like it really hasn't done much, but at the same time, the rest of the world, the crypto world, I should say, has really made it out to be like it's just this big event. Like any 5% move or 2% move that Bitcoin does, it's definitely exemplified on crypto Twitter or on YouTube, right? You can see every YouTuber, they go crazy for this. And let me just clarify this right now before we get into the technical analysis, guys, that for me, you shouldn't really expect daily uploads like that. Maybe there will be a time period where I will be uploading a lot more adamant, a lot more consecutively. And usually that's going to be because the market is hot, meaning there's a lot of price action. So there's a lot for me to kind of cover within a short period of time. Right now, Bitcoin isn't doing that. And if you have been watching my channel or my videos for the past literally like a month, maybe at this point, 2 months, my outlook still pretty much is the same. All right, so we're going to be covering something similar to that. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, guys, before we get into it, guys. So don't expect for me to go crazy with the uploads unless the market is hot, right? We're in a bull market, things are going crazy. Anyways, let's get right into it. So first and foremost, as you guys know, Bitcoin has kind of been stagnating here on these local highs, right? And by what I mean local highs is anywhere above 8,500 range. The reason this is an important level, right, anywhere above 8,500, 8,000, is because that is where we essentially had broken above this overall neckline, right? Back in February, March, when Bitcoin had broken down, this pretty much was that deviating point that led us from going from 8,000 down to 3,000. So the fact that Bitcoin was able to quickly recover and do almost what's known as a V-shaped kind of type situation and break that neckline, it is very critical for Bitcoin to hold these highs, right? This general vicinity, even though it is quite a wide range, right? It's about a 20% or so move. But nonetheless, guys, regardless of whatever's been going on these past few weeks, past few days, Bitcoin is still bullish, all right? And let me explain why, all right, in the long term or whatever. Something I've always talked about was that Bitcoin, as long as it holds these EMA lines, right? Specifically this yellow and this orange line, which are the 200 exponential moving average and the 140 exponential moving average, they are known as long-term indicators that provide information to us to determine what trend Bitcoin is going off of right now. Any single time Bitcoin has ever trended above these yellow EMAs and orange EMAs right here, Bitcoin has always been on an uptrend. And again, that's very apparent if you look back in like 2017, 2016, throughout the entire time, any single time Bitcoin would pull back, it would bounce off those EMAs specifically, right? The 200 and the 140, and we would continue to rally towards the upside afterwards, right? So this is why I say that right now bulls are still in control, because we are still remaining above that support structure. But with that being said, how much more till we get a break towards the upside, guys? That's kind of the question right now is, how much longer do we have to wait until we continue to consolidate in these highs before we possibly break towards the upside? And so right now I have a kind of a theory, right? So let's draw our trend lines. Like I always say, draw your trend lines, very important. But let's draw our bottom trend from this wick down here, kind of connect the dots. And as we kind of keep going more or less, I'm not connecting it perfectly, guys. It's not going to be perfect. Everybody's going to have a different viewpoint, so don't hammer me on this. But essentially, this was kind of our first kind of trend that we were looking at. Bitcoin did technically kind of break below that. We did end up seeing a rejection up in this general vicinity. And as right now, if we draw our second trend line towards the downside, again, not perfect, just to give you a general idea, you know, more or less Bitcoin is still kind of trending towards the downside here. I do think that this is possibly still going to be more of a sympathy bounce. And what I would expect within I'd say this week into the next week is that possibly, you know, Bitcoin could either one, flip this overall horizontal resistance, right? So around this general resistance, which is around 9,300. All right, that's what I would be looking for Bitcoin to possibly flip. Or what I think is still more likely, at least for the time being, is that we're very likely for this to kind of reject off this vicinity and most likely end up making probably some lower lows into that 8,700 range. All right, I think that's still a possibility. Again, not 100% certain, but again, I think that that would be still a possibility for Bitcoin, is that either one, we flip that 9,300 range, or we resist it and we drop down towards that 8,700 range. At least that's where I would be looking for possible longs, right? I'm either going to wait until we flip or until we recover this general support structure. And the reason I say that is because right now we are on that pivotal resistance, right? This is where Bitcoin was ranging for the longest time, right? It was ranging for about a week or two. Around this vicinity, eventually breaking towards the upside, but we didn't get enough momentum for us to continue upwards, so we ended up rejecting it. So it's possible for Bitcoin again to tap into this general support structure down here around that 8,700 range, where I would assume more people are more interested in buying, right? You know, we've already seen in the past how people, you know, end up buying Bitcoin like crazy any single time it touches this support structure around this general vicinity, because that is just an area of demand, a lot of demand. But if you don't really care about that, if you're just holding Bitcoin, again, guys, from a long-term perspective, right, a very macro perspective, Bitcoin is still holding these highs, right? It's still consolidating around, whether it flips around here or it goes down here, Bitcoin is still bullish because we're still holding around this general vicinity. And you know, let's say for example, we do end up pulling back, I still would suspect that eventually Bitcoin would end up recovering these highs, possibly seeing a little bit of some more consolidation for at least a couple of more weeks or a couple of more months, right? Maybe into Q3 before actually pushing towards the upside, as long as we do hold, again, this support structure right here, which is that 200 exponential moving average, right? The one that we've been talking about for quite some time. So again, that's kind of my general outlook for Bitcoin, at least for the time being. Nothing really has changed. And this is, again, why I repeated from the beginning, is that you shouldn't really expect for me to upload daily, because I keep a very concise outlook for Bitcoin. As long as, again, it still holds support structures, as long as it still holds general highs and stuff, my outlook still remains the same regardless of the price action, right? What I like to look for is invalidations, right? So if it were to break below, again, this 200 exponential moving average, that would be known as an invalidation. And that is where I would change bias. At that point, I would say, okay, we're very likely to end up going down, right? And that's where I would say, all right, we are in bearish territory, right? Bears are in control at that point. But for the time being, that's not the case, right? So that's why I keep the outlook that I do. But all in all, you know, yeah, you know, just to keep it simple, pretty concise, you know, let's actually pull up our weekly support structure. I'm sorry, our weekly outlook really quickly. And again, similar to what we were talking about in previous videos, is that, again, nothing has really changed. We are still technically, for the most part, holding above these general highs, guys. You know, even though Bitcoin did end up pulling back, the weekly, again, once again, this past Sunday, it did end up closing above that weekly support structure, guys. That makes 5 consecutive weeks above this weekly support structure, guys. To me, that's still really bullish. I don't care what anybody says. To me, that is still a really good outlook. And I think as long as we continue to do so, we're very likely to eventually continue to push towards the upside. Again, who knows when? That could be a few weeks from now, maybe a month from now, into August. Who knows, right? Bitcoin, it takes time. You know, it takes time for Bitcoin to do its thing. Again, going back to 2015, Bitcoin here was consolidating for an exaggerated amount, right? It went from November up until May of 2016 of just this long, elongated consolidation, right? Before it finally ended up pushing into a parabolic move from that point on, and which ended up lasting for about 2 years, which is what you want to look for, right? We're still only about 2 months in. Again, this could last another month or two before we end up pushing towards the upside. What you guys have to remember is that this is a very strong resistance, guys. For the past 3 years at this point, right? Almost, well, 2 years really. Wait, let me see, 1, 2. So yeah, about 2.5 years. Bitcoin has only made consecutive lower highs. So for Bitcoin to finally make a higher high, it needs to see a lot of, and I mean a lot of accumulation within this general vicinity, which right now I do see it happening. Right now it is still doing just that. So that's why I'm not necessarily worried just yet. I think that things are still looking pretty good. We are still standing above this overall bear trend line, and it is enacting as a support structure. So that is my outlook for Bitcoin, guys. Very quickly, I guess I can cover some altcoins, right? Of course, being the majors such as Ethereum, something like I covered before in the past. I think to me Ethereum still looks extremely well. It's still holding its overall support structure on its Bitcoin charting, and similar to what we're talking about with Bitcoin, it did end up technically breaking above its overall resistance, and it is holding above that support structure on this trend line. All right, I do think that as long as we continue to hold this, we're very likely to see a huge move, an impulse move within Ethereum in the next coming possibly again week or two, maybe a month or so, again depending on Bitcoin price action, and eventually I think we could see a huge move towards the upside, and we could see continuation, right, for the first time in a very long time. As you guys can see from this chart, it's been a while since Ethereum has ever recovered from those 2018 2017 highs, right? So it could take some time, but I do think that this is a first good start, right? We do have that double bottom support structure, we do have that wedging out overall move right here, and we do have support on that trend line. All right, so it's just a matter of time. We just have to be patient to see what goes on, but this still does look really good in my personal opinion. So that's just that. And of course, let's take a look at some Link. I know everybody loves the Link, guys, just because it is one of those coins that's been around since 2017 and is the only altcoin, in my personal opinion, that has actually seen some higher highs, right? Everything else has seen downward projectile, not Link, right? Link has only seen the opposite. It's only gone higher since 2017, which is incredible, right? You can only give it props. But with that being said, guys, right now Link is still holding that trend line, guys. It's still holding its overall trend support structure. You can see that right now it is at its previous resistance structure, right? This is retesting this for the 3rd time. Typically when you retest something 3 times into a resistance area, it is very likely to break it out. And if we zoom into the 4-hourly, as of right now, you can see we are on that 4-hour time frame. Right now Link is still consolidating, guys. I think it's very likely that in the very near future we could see some kind of a breakout very soon. And I think that we could end up retesting again that overall resistance, and eventually this could end up breaking towards the upside, right? We could see another move upwards. If we look at it from its USD perspective, I think we've already broken its previous, oh no, never mind, we are right at resistance, right? We are still right at that previous all-time high resistance. So I think that it's very likely, you know, for us to continue to consolidate here, but eventually I do suspect that we will end up possibly again retesting this and seeing if we do break out, right? Ideally I would like for Link to continue, right, because it is in my best interest. I will most likely long it just like everybody else, and at that point we could end up seeing around $6 or so, maybe even upwards of around $8, right? But guys, something to keep in mind, all right, a coin can only go up so much, all right, at least for the time being. So you know, it is in my best interest to long this right now just because we are still in a pretty crazy uptrend. But don't expect another 10x from here, guys. I mean, it's possible. Everything's possible. Its market cap is still pretty decent. I want to say low, but it's definitely like decent for it to possibly 10x. But it would put it up there with Ethereum. It would put it up there with XRP, right? Which I think XRP is way overvalued. That's another story for a different time. But that takes a lot. That takes a lot of price action. That money has to come from somewhere. As of right now, again, we're still ranging in crypto. We haven't broken out to new all-time highs just yet. So that money, in my opinion, is nowhere to be found just yet. So while it is likely, I don't think it's necessarily likely right now. As long as Bitcoin isn't in a bull run just yet, I don't think it's, you know, you shouldn't expect a 10x just yet. My personal opinion, at least from Link for the time being, but I do suspect that we could see some more price action towards the upside. So anyways, that's something to keep an eye out for, definitely. As long as we do hold this overall support structure up here and continue to consolidate, it's likely that Link could do some pretty good stuff, right? All right, so just something to keep in mind. So I will end it up there, guys. Let me know what you guys think, what other altcoins you guys want me to cover. And lastly, if you guys haven't already, be sure to go join the Facebook group. Let me just pull it up really quickly. It's known as the Cryptocurrency Traders Group. All right, in this cryptocurrency group, we do cover technical analysis. We cover my personal portfolio, or what coins I like to trade. I like to cover technical analysis, trading techniques, right? It's just there's a lot that I do like to cover in this. So if you guys like to join that, be sure to check it out. Link's going to be in the description below. It looks just like this. All right, Cryptocurrency Traders Group. We have about 400 members, and every single day I am adding more and more people. You can see right now I have about 9. You can probably see that, but you can see right here we have about 9 requests. So be sure to go check it out, guys. And as always, I will see you on the next one.